Hello viewers, hope you've been enjoying the karting footage this year with my man Jimmy Broadbent. Shadow Realm Racing returns. Okay, this is like an intro race for the year, not part of this season. The main thing is going to be the difference in the way that it looks, because the footage with the cameras we can't put them on the helmet anymore, we have to put them on the cart.
It's a movable aero device what it was, and now we can't use it for aero, so don't take it off.
So we're just experimenting today, and you'll see this Jimmy's video as well. So the camera's going to look very different, but let's see if it looks good. And it's two 1 hour races. I'll be going out first in the first one, then swap it to Jimmy, and then Jimmy will start in the second one and swap it to me. Just a bit of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so here we go then. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. The first kart race of the 2020 season is underway, and this is the view that you'll have to be getting used to, because we've essentially changed from cockpit view last year to what is now essentially a bumper cam. And you know what? I was a bit sceptical at first, but actually I really like the way that this angle turns out. Of course there are downsides to this, you know, you can't see the hand movements, you can't see the insane tyre warming skills, but I think it captures the action rather well, and hopefully you can get on board with it and, excuse the pun, hopefully you can get on board with it and enjoy the racing to come in 2020. Now the reasons for the change is, well, basically Club 100 are governed by, by people above them who dictate the rules on safety, and the rules have changed. We're not allowed to mount helmet cameras, we're not allowed to mount shoulder cameras, body cameras, chest cameras, and we can only have the cameras here on the front of the kart, so basically that can't change. And we can't use those visor cams either. But anyway, first race underway, here we go then, starting 8th on the grid at Buckmore Park in mixed conditions, sweeping immediately over to the inside of the track and down into the first hairpin. Now unfortunately we don't have the position counter, as I didn't have the data for that, so I couldn't actually work out exactly where I was in the race, but you have to go with my judgment throughout the course of this commentary. But you see just how aggressive this first lap is, and I started 8th on the grid, so it's 2 races of 1 hour each. There's no qualifying, it's just 2 grids, so if you start first on the first race you'll start last in the second race, etc. But we're going to start 8th and about 25th. So 8th for this one. And at the end of this first lap, it was a fairly messy first lap, it must be said. I've only ended it in about 9th. And that is partially or mostly down to the fact that it's actually difficult conditions here. You can see that it's sort of half wet, half dry, and over the course of the race that will change as the track dries out slightly. So you can see the different colours of the tarmac. So that is the main sort of thing we're contending with. I got the inside of Mike Coppin here, and it's sort of a half-hearted move. It doesn't really pay off at all, and I lose quite a bit of time. So I needed to be a bit more convicted than that if I'm going to get the job done. So this first lap, not going completely to plan, as we come down the hill into Paddock Hill Bend here, or Paddock Bend should I say. Paddock Hill Bend's at Brands Hatch. This isn't quite Brands Hatch. And then through Garda, through the left of Senna, and then you're going to go up the hill through Cafe Curve, flat out this corner, and then onto the main straight, across the line then to end lap number 2. So we haven't really gained any positions from about halfway through lap number 1. We're going to try and do that here though, as Coppin goes a little bit wide and he actually goes to the left hand side. That is the pit lane entry, so he peels off to the left hand side to go into the pits. We've got a 3 abreast here pretty much, as we're going to try to get some sort of undercut on the way out, and you can see there, I couldn't quite gather exactly what happened. We lose 1 position, lose 2 positions, but we gained a couple at the same time. So I'm not sure exactly what position I'm in now, so probably about 7th or 8th still. Costa, the Greek god of speed, comes through. One of the most powerful anime characters in the whole karting universe, and he actually gets through in front of us. So through Garda, a bit of contact there. This is a good angle, I think, in capturing the closeness of the action when you're right up behind another kart. So that is one advantage of this camera angle. You see that Costa actually, he's number 10. You might be able to just see that as we go over the main straight, over the finish line. You can see the the digital board, and he actually gets a black flag. That's why he goes into the pits there. Random lunge out of nowhere. Luckily, I just managed to see that one in my peripheral vision, see it come in and go, and then overtake him on the way back out. So just avoiding going to the Shadow Realm on lap number 4 here. But this is where the race begins to settle down. I think I'm in, wait, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm in 6th place, my sort of natural position. And you might be able to just see ahead the guy with the pink helmet, Alistair Irvine, in the lead, just going around the top corner there. So he's a good 3 or 4 seconds ahead, I would say, at this point. So it's not the best start, I would say. At least I haven't spun out though, that's kind of an important thing. So Rich Allen up ahead of us here, very, very fast driver, up the inside, and a bit of contact between the two of them. And we're going to try and go up the inside. We got the inside of one of them. Rich Allen is going to maintain the position and stay there, which is now 4th. He's in 4th, I'm in 5th. And we're just going to tuck in behind. And actually we're going to lose a bit of momentum there through the S's. This is something that's really important over the course of this race. There might be a lot of times where it looks like I could just easily dive up the inside, but as the track is drying, the racing line stays dry, but if you go off of that racing line, you go onto the wet stuff, and then you have no grip. So you can go up the inside and try to overtake someone, but then you're going to go onto the water, you're going to get wet tyres, and you're going to go straight on. So it's actually quite risky going for moves at certain places. So you have to be really careful with that. A lot of times it's better to be patient and wait for a mistake from one of the guys ahead. Now, the race most certainly having settled down by this point, this is where things get a lot easier. This is the first race of 2020. Things were a little bit hectic on that first lap. Just going past the back marker there. First back marker of the race on lap number 6. So this race is just a season opener. It's a traditional race they do at Club 100 every year in January, at the end of January. It's sort of just an anniversary of the club. It doesn't really count towards any championship. It's just just a race just for fun really. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity with Jimmy. So I'm in the team with Jimmy Broadbent here. It's a good, very good opportunity to get together and get some time under our belts in the car, but also to practice sort of an extra thing we have to deal with this year, which is cameras, because it's mounted on the car as we go up the inside of Rich Allen up into 4th. Nice clinical move. As the camera is mounted to the car, we have to change that during the pit stops. And that's something else to think about over the course of the year. And this is going to add a little bit more difficulty to our pit stops because there's already the weight that we have to change because we weigh a different amount. And then the pedals, because Jimmy's not as tall as I am, so we have to change the pedals. We also have to change the cameras, so we have to change the fuel. Get the car fueled and hand fuel cap to each other. So there's a lot to think about, and it's a good idea to practice that, and that's exactly what we're doing here over the course of this race, and you'll see that during the pit stops later on. So lap number 9 now, going on to lap 10. You see I've caught up with 2nd and 3rd now. So the guy in the pink helmet, just a couple of seconds ahead, still ahead by a few seconds, but we are slowly reeling them in. And sometimes it's better to be behind in these conditions, as you can judge better where the grip is by seeing what the guys ahead do wrong. And speaking of doing something wrong, they've both gone very wide into hairpin 2, and we're going to go for the double move up into 2nd place. So now it's pretty much a case of hunting down the leader and trying to overhaul him for the lead of the race. And we do that on lap number 10. So getting to 2nd place from 8th by lap 10, not too bad of a return, especially after that lap 1, which really was chaotic. Around Buckmore Park, I would normally like to go up a couple of positions, but on this occasion, losing position on lap 1. By lap 15, you can see the gaps come down, and still probably about 2nd at this point. You can see the full extent of the gap there from this exterior shot. But the gap is definitely coming down, a couple of tenths per lap maybe. So come to this corner here, look at this. He just hesitated behind that back mark, and that's what I was saying earlier. If you go for the move up the inside, there's a very big risk that you slide wide with wet tyres going off the dry line. And I immediately close in that gap. It just shows you, you can be so consistent and fast for so many laps, but then if you hesitate behind one back marker, then you lose a lot of time very quickly. And that's exactly what happened. So I went slightly narrow there. You can see I just lose a bit of time through hairpin 1 as I go off onto the dampest part of the circuit. And the track is beginning to dry. It does dry quite quickly, but it dries quicker at the bottom half of the track here, which we're going down now, than it does at the top. The top end of the track dries very slowly at this circuit, mainly because of the tree cover. So you can see that this half of the track is actually a bit better than the top. So another back marker to deal with, and actually you can see that it just goes off the racing line, just goes off the dry line. Maybe a lapse of concentration from Irvine there, and not quite Eddie Irvine unfortunately, but he just goes off the line, and you see he just drifts wide. It just shows you how little grip there is when you don't touch the dry stuff, the drier stuff. And we go past that back marker there. Lap 17, we've taken the lead of the race. Now the race is an hour long. We have to do one pit stop. We have to change over our driver. So I'm going to change to Jimmy. We agreed to change on about 35 minutes. So there is a timer in the pit lane. There's a timer on the main straight as well, so we can tell exactly how far into the race we are. And then he'll do the last 25, and then there's a second race as well, which is also featuring in this video. And then he'll start. It'll basically be the same, but in reverse. So he'll do the first 35, and I'll do the last 25. So it's a fair amount. Okay, so lap 21. So it looked okay up until this point here. So we're coming up against quite a lot of back markers. We haven't lapped these guys on pure pace. A lot of it is because these guys have already done their pit stops. I haven't done my pit stop yet, but some of these guys will have done theirs. So quite a big cluster of karts coming up here, a good 7-8 karts. Up the inside here, is it going to work? Yes, it is. That guy went too far wide, drifts endlessly on. And then another back marker to deal with here. Can we get past him a hairpin too? No, we have to set him up here. So this section here is not the best place to be behind a back marker. It's basically impossible to get past. You can go for a very brave move here on the left hander, but normally isn't going to work. We're going to go up the inside into paddock. There we go. Get the move done. And we can continue to try to catch up with this group ahead. And actually, Mike Coppen go very deep there, so he would have gone in for his pit stop. You see a couple of these guys familiar from early in the race, so we're coming up to lap them, courtesy of them doing their pit stops and just lapping a little bit quicker. And so we got a little bit lucky there, as there was a 0.3. We make the most of that. Got the inside of a couple of them guys. Look at the inside here. You see an example here. I drift really wide by going up the inside, and I lose the lead of the race. So the Irvine there in the pink helmet, very recognisable helmet, goes back into the lead. So that just really shows you, because I know that there's going to be a million people in the comments saying, just go for it, just send it every corner. But that is a prime example of why you shouldn't, because you just slide off. And it's really difficult in these conditions. You have to kind of wait for the correct corners. Hairpin 2 normally being one of the best corners to go for moves, as I don't know, just the way that corner is. Also, the first corner coming up at the top of the end of the main straight here. So back on Irvine quite quickly. We're going to look for the move here. He goes a little bit wide. Can we get it done? Yes, we can. That just shows you. Now it's his turn to go off onto the wetter part of the track, and he drifts endlessly on. These two back markers having a bit of a mare, and then we retake those two guys. So into the lead, and it looks like we've got two back markers between myself and Irvine, which is always good. It's like one of those scenes in a scary movie when the guy with the big knife is chasing someone, or the guy being chased is just chucking a load of stuff in the way, and that's what I'm kind of doing in the form of back markers. Trying to slow down the guy behind me by getting a load of back markers in the way, basically. And that is the key often in these endurance races, just how quickly you can navigate the back markers. And look at the inside there, no, not quite close enough. On the exit perhaps, yes, we can, just, no, maybe not. Just shows you, we got a little bit narrow, wasn't quite enough grip, and I couldn't get the momentum. Again, a little bit wide there. And it looked like I actually think I got hit. I seem to remember I got hit. And that is perhaps a disadvantage of this viewpoint. Irvine actually with his hand raised as if it's F1 2019, and perhaps annoyed with the guy in the orange helmet. Now, there's one disadvantage of this camera view, that you can't quite see side-on-side contact, so I just have to kind of remember what happened. I do recall getting tapped slightly wide at that corner. Irvine go for the move, so we're back in second, so it's a bit of a topsy-turvy race. Neither of us can really get a good foothold in this one. It looks like it looked like I was quicker. I got into the lead, but then I couldn't really establish a good lead, and I kept losing it again. But then Irvine would get back in the lead, and he would lose it again. So constantly swapping and changing, but it's a good battle. Into hairpin 1, getting very close there, and I'm going to sweep up the inside of this chap, really close to contact there. Oh my god, I can't believe I couldn't quite send him to the shadow realm. Irvine gets the better momentum back into the lead around the outside, and it's kind of as you were. And so I'm going to try and deal with this back marker. This is sometimes quite a difficult thing when you've got a back marker who's quite fast and doesn't know that you're a lap ahead and in the lead of the race. Irvine, with a big move, lunges out of nowhere. I'm going to retake the position as he loses all his momentum, and I go up into the lead of the race once again. So plenty of position changes here for the race lead. It's always good to see that. Well, when you're in the lead, you just want to stay in the lead, but I suppose it's good for the casual neutral in the grandstand. And that's costed the Greek god of speed up the inside. Not the best move. And we're going to take those two positions. So a lot of these moves that I'm making here, often just being the result of patience, letting other people crash into each other, and then just making the most of the resulting carnage. And a little bit later on here, lap number 34. So I think I've established a decent lead by this point, of maybe a couple of seconds, but nothing too big. And we're going to come up against another batch of back markers. And it seemed like the back markers quite often were in groups. They seem to form in clusters, making it a little bit more tricky to navigate them. But this group here, we're going to get through them quickly enough. Up behind Mr. Lindley here, gets quite slow momentum through the S's, and there's no way through there really. So we have to wait a little bit later for the move. Goes a bit wide there. That's always going to be a good opportunity to get the cut back on the way out to the corner. There it is, and then up the inside. Just trying to be careful because on the inside here, on the wetter stuff, and we have someone just coming out of the pit lane just ahead of us. So someone else to join the party to try to get past here. Can we go for a move into turn 1? Sweep over to the right hand side, and yes, we can get the move done into the first corner on lap number 36. So not many laps left. Not too many laps left before I'm going to come in, and probably about 3 or 4 laps left, and then I'm going to come into the pit lane, and it will be Jimmy Broadbent's turn to take over from myself in Shadow Realm Racing, kart number 30 for this one. And for those wondering, we will be racing the entire Club 100 endurance season. At least all the races that we can make. We might have clashes with other things, maybe like the Gran Turismo World Tour, but for the most part we will be doing as many of the rounds as we possibly can, and it'll be a really good season, I think, to try to develop. Jimmy's made really solid progress so far. He's not done too many races, but I think he's actually really done very well, and today this race here is no different. So a couple of laps left before we come in for our pit stop. I do hope you're enjoying the camera angle. Do let me know your thoughts on that. Yes, it is a shame we can't do the helmet camera. We get overtaken by this guy once again. Not too much of a worry, as long as we don't lose time. It's all about time loss, really, in these endurance races. So as long as this guy gets a move on and laps quickly, I don't mind sitting behind him, because we're not really in the same race at this point. He is a lap down, because I haven't done my pit stop yet. So there's no real worry about that at the moment. So we come down the hill, sweeping through here. And is he going to make any mistake? No, not quite. We're going to tuck in nicely behind. There's no point going for the move here. Again, you're going to go offline. So we just tuck in, wait for the prime opportunity to go for it. And you can get a really nice view at the Rotax Club 100 engine there as we come up the main straight. And we're going to go for the move into turn 1. No, we're not. Again, sticking behind, just waiting. We're going to go in for our pit stop in a moment, so there's no point rushing it at this point in time. Into hairpin 1. Another back marker to deal with. Both navigating, and this is the thing, if you've got someone quite quick in front of you, you can just tuck in behind them and they go for the move, you just follow them through, so they can kind of carve a path through back markers for you. You can just tuck in and let them do the work and just follow them through, so not having to do too much here. A bit of a topsy-turvy, I was going to say topsy-turvy, but a bit of contact there. Concertina effect, I think is the right term, as we go through the corner a little bit too quick compared to the back marker. Make a bit of contact, we get the move done on the exit. Now coming through here, this is the lap we're going to do our pit stop, lap number 43. So coming over the line to begin lap 43. Costa the Greek got a speed out of nowhere to unlap himself. But I'm going to peel to the left-hand side and go for the pit lane entry, trying to brake as late as possible as we come in here, cutting off half the track as we sweep into the pit lane, sweep left, sweep right, and we're going to have a quick glimpse of what it looks like to do a pit stop here in the Club 100 car. So look out for the weight. You have the weight at the back, you have the pedals being changed by that guy there at the front, and also the camera, which is mounted just beneath the number plates I'm just taking off there. So Jimmy just climbing into the car, and it's his turn to bring home the bacon for Shadow Realm Racing. There he goes.
Oh my god, just finished my stint. It was an absolute mess at the start. I couldn't get anywhere. It must have settled down, it was alright. Jimmy's out there now. I think I was in the lead, battling with that guy with the pink helmet. Well, let's just see. It's all fun anyway, so let's see what Jimmy does.
Like, it took me a good 10 laps. When I got to second, I was 8.
Okay, nice.
When I got to second, you were like 2 seconds ahead, and it took me quite a long time.
But as soon as you make one big mistake.
This is cutting edge preparation for the race. Four.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
You were catching Aston Martin, an Aston Martin GT driver, Chris
No
Goodwin.
way!
Yeah.
Holy shit!
You were like, the photographer's got some photos of you, like right behind you. You were catching.
There you go!
Fourth overall.
That's how we do it, man.
First in our class and fourth overall.
Mate, I'm buzzing, man.
You were really quick. Like we finished 16 seconds off first,
No.
but now you got to go again.
Yeah,
You're starting this one.
No.
You do another 35. You're right. Yeah.
mate, buzzing. Absolutely buzzing.
Yeah. No, you're driving really well. I was like consistent. Like for the last sort of 10 minutes, the gap stayed about 15, 16 seconds, like to the lead. You didn't really lose anything. It's a faux thing.
I don't know, but
they're both on the middle. Does it want actually go? No, that one's on close. It's pretty close. This one's from behind. Come in flat out. Right, jump out.
Okay, so race number 2. So in the first one, I thought we finished 4th. We actually finished 5th, but I still think it was a really good result. Really, really good result. We finished 1st in our class, so that's what really matters. It doesn't really matter about the other people in a different class. We finished off our class. Jimmy's starting this one. So we started 8th in the first one. This one we're starting about 23rd or 25th. So first lap here, coming down the hill, you just hope that the guy on your team actually comes down the hill without being wiped out. And eventually we do see Jimmy, there he is. So he has come down the hill and has to avoid a crash there into paddock. Does well to do that. And look at this this cutback he does here on the guy in the blue suit, a yellow helmet. So through here he takes a wider line in and cuts him back. Really good move on the way out. And a cheeky little hand raise there just to let him know about it. And a little bit later on, people getting sent to the Shadow Realm left, right and centre. Coming up the hill here, it's all going to kick off. Penalty for someone, presumably. And that didn't end well for that guy. Thankfully it's not Jimmy. Jimmy had a really good race. Eventually, after 35 minutes, he comes into the pit lane. And again, I take the weight off, he changes the pedals, we have to change the camera as well. So lots of things to change. It's tricky, you know. So we could do with a Formula 1-esque team. That would be great if we could have that. With about 50 people swarming around the kart, changing one thing each. But here we go then. So coming out here, lap number 44 of 75, and the guy in the black suit, white helmet just in front there is actually the leader of the race. We are a lap down though. We're a lap down, so that is something to note. So we are approximately, when I was looking at the timing screen, Jimmy was about he started about 25th, and he was around about 15th, 16th for the most part, and he was actually at the back of quite a big group, and not too far away from quite a lot of karts. So there's still potential in this race to gain quite a lot of positions. And I'll say it again, Jimmy did a really good couple of stints in the first race, in this race, and in his first year in 2019, did a couple of races, and the main thing was really just ironing out the mistakes, and in iRacing speak, getting 0 incident points, you could say. And he's done exactly that. He's put me in a good position here to try to fight forward, gain some more positions, and bring home the bacon once again. And we're going to try to go for the move here. Is it quite going to work? No, not quite. So the difficult thing here, when you come out of the pit lane on a changing track, because the conditions are changing, the difficult thing is just gauging exactly how quickly you can go. Because obviously I haven't been out on the track for a good hour at this point, so I don't know exactly how dry it is. So you can kind of gauge that by seeing what lines other people are taking. Maybe it's a good thing we come out just behind the race leader, as you can kind of tuck in behind. And actually you see just how much of a gap the race leader has got on us over the last sort of 2 laps since I've come out of the pit lane. So we're going to try and address that from here to the end of the race. And skipping here to lap number 50, another cluster of karts, including the race leader, who is in there. We're going to try to catch up with him as quickly as possible. Look at this between these two guys. Aggressive move there, retaliation there, and I take advantage. It just shows you don't really want to fight too much. And it really does pay to be smooth and elegant past back markers. When you start making contact, people aren't going to like you when you start doing that. And a lot of the time they're going to start dive bombing you back, retaliating, making contact with you. So you've got to be careful with how you negotiate people. And on this occasion, just waiting and being patient and waiting for the right opportunity to do it, especially on this difficult circuit with difficult conditions. It really is tricky in these conditions to get the right move done. But we're waiting for the right opportunity once again. Into Garda, not quite close enough. This guy's actually fairly quick. He's got the speed. And as long as he's got the speed, it doesn't matter too much. We can just follow him for a couple of laps. It doesn't really matter too much. But again, just focusing on minimising time loss. As we come up the straight here, 4 of us in a row. No moves being done into turn number 1 though. So look for the exit. Is it going to happen there? Yes, it is. As he forces himself to the left-hand side. It looks like he was going to the pit lane, actually went that far wide. Chris Alcock up the inside. It's Chris Alcock here, immediately in front of us here. We follow him through. Similar to what we were saying in the first race. If you can just tuck in behind someone who's quick, who can make the moves, you can just follow them through, basically. So Chris Alcock, quick driver, very, very quick driver. And he finished, so if you remember the Super Final Championship I did last year, I finished 2nd, he finished 3rd. So we haven't actually raced him too much, we're only in the Super Finals. We got the inside there and get the job done on him. A little bit of a sketchy move because of the lack of grip on the inside. There was contact with that move. But we're going to try to press forward and gain some time here. There's quite a big gap ahead of us to the next kart. And certainly I can notice already through hairpin 1 there, a lot more grip, and through hairpin 2. I'll pretty much take the dry line now through those 2 corners, whereas before it was a little bit more sketchy. Lap number 61, we are progressing nicely through this race. So for those wondering why it's 75 laps, it's basically an hour race. And you just do as many laps as you can do in an hour. It turned out to be 75 on this occasion. As we come up the hill behind Mr. Simpson, and we're going to go for the move up the inside. No, not quite. We're going to think better of it. Another cluster of karts here to contend with as we come down towards hairpin 1. Late on the brakes. You're going to try to stay as close as you possibly can and set yourself up for a move into hairpin 2. And that's exactly what we do. So a lot of the time it's about waiting for the right opportunity. We've said that so many times. Drinking game for that, I suppose. Difficult conditions, waiting for the right opportunity. Anything along those lines. That was a late move, but it kind of just worked. and saved myself a couple of tenths there at least by overtaking him quite quickly. Don't normally go for moves at that corner, not normally an overtaking place, but it was a little bit slow, just went for it and it paid off. So, progressing through Cafe Curve, over the line to begin lap number 63, not too many left in the race. By this point in time, I'm in the top 10, but I'm not sure exactly where. It's a little bit frustrating not having all the data to play with, but in my future videos I will have the position counter. So just like the lap counter on the top left of the screen, I will have the position counter, so you better know exactly where I am in terms of position. And actually that move didn't work out, quite interestingly. I thought I had that move done. I didn't, as that guy managed to stay alongside and get the move back done on me. So Chris Alcock actually follows that guy back through. Not that it matters too much because we're a lap down on Chris. So Chris is the leader, the guy right in front of us, but we are a lap down on him. Well, I am a lap down now. When I was in front of him, I was a lap down, I suppose. So we're going to try to get back ahead of him, stay on the lead lap. We look on the inside here, think better of it, not knowing the conditions on the inside of that corner. And look at this big group here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm in the 8th car in this train here. And that seemed to be the order of the day. Lots of big groups to deal with. And it can be a very good opportunity to try to establish a gap on arrival by getting through a group first. I'm okay with following Chris through here. As he goes for the move, I follow him through. I don't get the best momentum, actually go into the back of him and give him a lot of speed. You see how quickly that gap opens up. I lose maybe half a second there by not getting good momentum out of the corner. But we're going to try to re-establish that gap, try to get it down once again. As he goes up the inside, he can be following through from quite a way back. But we do manage to follow him through. It just shows you how much time they lose by fighting and being off the line slightly. So immediately back on his bumper. And it's always good to have a battle with another fast driver who's raced before. You just begin to build a rapport with drivers that you've raced many times. You begin to understand how they race, what they race like. And you lose the momentum there behind the blue-suited driver as we exit Paddock, through Garda, through Senna, and then up the hill through Cafe Curve for the 65th time in this race. At least this kart has gone through that corner 65 times in the race. As Jimmy did the first 40 odd laps, I did however many laps I've done. Up the inside there, we're going to follow him through once again. He's just doing all the work for me. I'm doing nothing here, just following through. And makes it nice and easy for me. Basically putting zero effort in it. And loses momentum there on the exit up against the black-suited, black-helmeted driver. And we have to re-establish that one then. Go for a move a little bit later on, down the hill into Paddock. Fast sweeping right-hander here. Is he going to go for the move here? No, not quite. Waits for it. Actually, no, he looks there last minute. Was going to go for it. Backs out. And loses a little bit of time. So it's that kind of hesitation which can lose you races, certainly lose you time. He points us through. I'm going to bump him up the inside and follow him through. So we get past that back marker. Thumbs up from Chris. We can continue. The main target I'm looking at here is a very quick driver in James de Havilland. Not the red suit, white helmet, but the kart in front of that. So it's sort of a white and red suit. Very, very quick, accomplished racing driver. We'll try to catch up with him if we can. Unsure if it's for position or if it's to unlap ourselves. I'm not sure. But at this point in time, you know what? You come out onto the track and you just drive as quickly as you can, just go past as many cars as you can. I think it's kind of a simple equation. You don't want to worry too much about who's lap traffic, who isn't. Sometimes just freaking go for it and worry later. Ask the questions later in the post-race press conference. Anyway, lap number 71. And we are fast approaching the end of the race. You may have seen this clip on Twitter and Instagram. This one is an absolute beauty. 6 positions in 30 seconds. Here we go then, up past those two guys. So once again, Chris doing all the work. I just follow him through. Patience is the order of the day today. As we cross the line to begin lap number 72. 4 to go at this point. And around the first corner into hairpin 1, and all kicks off here. De Havilland up the inside. Doesn't quite pay off. Chris Alcock almost going into the side of him, and then through hairpin 2, force that guy narrow, do him on the exit. Jobs are good, and 6 karts in 30 seconds, and we pull away. That just shows you patience really, really helps in certain situations, and it paid off there. Now this guy looks more like a Crash Team Racing character, or Speed Freaks character, or Mario Kart character. Bowser on the back of his suit, worrying signs when you see that. It actually turns in a little bit. So sometimes you can make that move up the inside, and 9 times out of 10 people see you coming and they'll leave the space. On this occasion, Bowser not really an aficionado of peripheral vision, but we get the move done regardless. So final lap of the race. At this point in time, let me have a look at my my result sheet here, because I can tell you which position I finished in if it loads. It doesn't want to load. But yeah, this is the final lap of the race as we end another hour, 2 hours of racing here. Good amount of time to get under our belts. Heat 2 result. Let me just have a look. So we finished, believe it or not, we finished 6th. Yes, that's right. 3rd in class, but we finished 6th place. And in fact, the car in front is for position in class as well. So if I could have gained a little bit more, I might have got one more position there. But unfortunately, that was that. And that's the race over. We finished in 6th place. I really hope you enjoyed this one, guys. And do let me know your thoughts about the camera angle. This is to stay, it has to stay. But I actually really enjoy this camera angle. I think it's pretty good. I think it actually works pretty well. And I do hope you look forward to more karting videos this year. As I said, Jimmy and I will be racing the whole season. So plenty of racing to look forward to. I'll be doing the odd sprint race here and there as well. So lots to look forward to in 2020. But that pretty much closes it for this one. Of course, let me know your thoughts. Jimmy's version will be out on his channel as well, so do have a look at that. And I'll leave you with myself getting weighed and a little outro with Jimmy.
That was good.
Yeah.
I thought that's the first and the third.
Yeah, really good results.
You were on it at the end, yeah, fast as that for a while.
So we got first in the first race in class and 3rd in that one.
Yeah.
Good little fight back.
All right. How was it for you at the end there? Because I didn't really catch up watching the
I
screen.
was so cold. I couldn't concentrate.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
My hands could see one. I was like, oh.
But I think we're on the podium. Well, we will be, 1st and 3rd. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Good start to the season. Also have a look at Jimmy's version.
If it comes out.
If it comes out. Have a look.